And the first one that we're going to open up with, Jamie, is a story that I pulled from friend of this show, personal friend of mine, friend of the community, one half of the Xbox 2 podcast with Randolph Thor. Of course, we're talking about Jez Corden of Windows Central. He posted a pretty interesting read regarding Sony attempting to block another game from coming to Xbox. Again, listen, Jamie, you had posted about this. I thought it was a great topic. And I'm going to say this, like I did in the opening, folks. I believe that you're going to start to see the circles of big publishers doing deals with Sony consistently shrink until they're none. Now, marketing deals, like say, for instance, PlayStation gets to be able to market Grand Theft Auto 6. And they paid oodles of money to be able to do that. That is something that's going to continue. They're going to continue to have marketing rights for certain games because obviously they want to sell the game. They also, but more importantly, they want to sell the brand of PlayStation and make people go out to buy a particular game that's branded, even though it's not exclusive, it's branded under the PlayStation banner. That's good marketing. They do it to great degree. What I'm referring to, Jamie, is the actual exclusivity deals. I honestly believe that the exclusivity deals that they have literally made PlayStation what it is are going to start to shrink. And I think that big publishers like Square Enix, seeing the massive losses that they took over the course of these signed deals, have made a lot of publishers and even smaller developers a little hesitant. One such developer we're going to talk about in a second. But again, money does talk. But I think that if you look specifically, if you want to take a case in point, if you will, look at what Sega has done specifically with Atlas. Atlas games were traditionally on PlayStation, skipping Xbox. That has gone the way of the dodo. Persona was a big one. And that is no longer a marketed game or an exclusive game for PlayStation. As a matter of fact, my Xbox had marketing for Persona 3 Reloaded. They're probably rumored to have Persona 6 marketing. They just had marketing for Metaphor, ReFantazio. And all of the games that have come before it that were originally stuck on PlayStation found their way not only to Xbox, but some of them even into Xbox Game Pass upon launch. A lot of the Yakuza series came the way of that. And that is a really, really big deal. So before I bring Jamie in, I just want to read, of course, what Jez had to write. Of course, again, Jez Corden of Windows Central. He wrote the article. He posted it yesterday. He said PlayStation tried to lock a major third-party game into an exclusive deal, but the devs said no. But still, it looks like Xbox fans will continue having to endure exclusionary deals like Silent Hill 2 going forward, should Xbox start doing similar or the same. Now, he goes on to say, and this is what I love about Windows Central. They have a specific section that really does give you the gist of the article, and I love it about it. It's called the What You Need to Know section. I think it's brilliant. So Crimson Desert is the game that we're talking about, is an upcoming action-adventure title from Korea-based Pearl Abyss, and it looks pretty damn great, according to Jez. The game has been announced for Xbox Series XS, PlayStation 5, and PC, although there's another timeline where Xbox would have been excluded. A recent session with Kaiwoom Securities in Korea with Pearl Abyss revealed that PlayStation had attempted to lock out Crimson Desert in much of the same way it did with games like Silent Hill, Final Fantasy VII, and others. Microsoft has seen some of its own third-party exclusivity deals bear fruit for Xbox in recent years, with Q1 viral hit Pal World and soon Stalker 2 set to release on November 20th. Now, you specifically, Jamie, and I'm glad that you're here, have publicly talked about Crimson Desert, on how good it actually looks, on how big of a game this is going to be. Now, not so much is it going to be the biggest game on Xbox, but it's going to be a big game across multiple platforms. So I have in front of me more. Let me see if I can get it over here. More particulars of what the developer actually said and why. See, I want this to be clear. Pearl Abyss did not do this for console war rhetoric. Like, hey, we have to defend Xbox, ladies and gentlemen, so we can't take a deal from Sony. No, that's actually not what happened. And I'm going to read verbatim. This is, again, directly from Pearl Abyss during the interview. It was Google was used to translate, and this is the correct translation. And it says this: We were also offered an exclusive contract with conditions such as a ban on Xbox release for a certain period of time from Sony, but we decided to proceed with self-publishing as we judged that self-publishing would yield higher expected profits. Now, again, it's a simple quote, Jamie, but it is a quote that is pointed. And I think that, again, I'm not in the room. This is just my opinion. It is not fact. So please do not clip me and say that, oh, Boom's saying that all deals are done for Sony. That is not the truth. They're going to continue to have deals. They're going to continue to try and get games to be locked behind the PlayStation paywall, and they're going to pay for it. How many people or developers or publishers are going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe? I don't know, but I think that Square Enix specifically, which is one of the biggest publishers in gaming, is going to be used as a test case as to why publishers and devs, especially smaller devs, should not take that deal. Let's get your thoughts on the recent reveal from Pearl Abyss.
I mean, I just checked. I've been talking about Crimson Desert on Twitter since 2019. Wow. So, like, I clearly have some interest in the game. This, for people that don't know, this game originally started off as an MMO, but the project became so ambitious that they changed it into a full-on single-player game, single-player RPG, and it's very much inspired by games like The Witcher, Red Dead Redemption, Skyrim, and even Breath of the Wild. It's going to be a really ambitious game, and in my opinion, it's probably going to be one of the top 3 biggest games of 2025. Just because of what they're doing with the game. And, for people that don't know, there's like 2 hours of footage that people can watch on YouTube already. Looks fantastic. But the exclusivity thing, like, I saw this coming from a mile away because it's a Korean game. It's a big game and it's a single player game. So, like, I've always thought Sony will go for it. And, whenever Sony has a gap in their first party, portfolio for a year, they do tend to go for exclusivity for games. We've seen with Black Myth Wukong and other games in the past. So I kind of saw it coming, but it's good that they rejected it because as much as people like to harp on saying Xbox guys don't buy games, the truth is they do. It's just less than PlayStation because the amount of install base. But these developers, they know these games cost a crap ton of money to make now, and putting your game on one console is just spreading yourself too thin. And you have budgets now that are inflating to the hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, hell, the next Witcher game is projected to be $400 million. So, like, that game has to be an instant success, even though it's out 4, 5, 6 years from now.
And it will be, just based on its popularity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like Crimson Desert, like, a lot of people that have vaguely heard about this still think it's an MMO. A lot of people still haven't heard of it. And, we don't know what they're going to be like with marketing. So, like, they have to be very careful with this game. I do think it's going to be a massive hit, but even they are projecting that they're going to sell 3 to 4 million in the first year across all platforms. And, next year is going to be a busy year with Grand Theft Auto, all the big first party titles and all that stuff, the Switch 2. And, I think that I think the time of these deals happening all the time, it's just done. Too many developers are losing out because if you let's look at Final Fantasy. Square Enix has learned whenever, let's say, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 comes out and PlayStation has an install base of 70 million PlayStation 5s, they don't really have 70 million people buying that game.
They do not.
It's like 10 million max on a good day. And even Square Enix has learned, they've said they go into a full multi-platform strategy going forward, including Final Fantasy for Xbox. And they're testing the waters right now with some smaller, older titles like Visions of Mana, Legend of Mana, and the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. And people seem to really like them. And over time, we're just going to see less of these deals happen. And I know people doing list wars and saying this third-party exclusive game is on the PlayStation list of games for that year. But at the end of the day, who really cares? We've seen so many studios shut down in the past 2 years alone. And hell, the studio that made Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown just got shut down today. So, anyone is at risk at the minute. And these developers, they know, look, they're going to get some marketing buzz if they go exclusive for a few months. And then the marketing dollars are a lot less for a timed exclusive when the game comes to a different platform later on. So I think it's going to be a big win for the developers because, again, they're going to get the max amount of, eyes on the game when the game comes out. It's probably going to be a long-running franchise. And it's good to see that publishers aren't just taking the bag straight away because in the long run, it actually hurts them.
So, to add some context to what you're saying, folks, I'm all about evidence-based conversation. You've heard me mention that before. Numbers, you cannot argue. You want to have an opinion about something, sure, have that opinion, but it's very hard to then translate that opinion to actual numbers. So what I wind up doing is I took a couple of screenshots of games that were specifically mentioned, discussed publicly, both through social media and through games media. And the conversation quickly went to initial sales and then complete dead air, Jamie. So here's some of my points. One of the bigger games that were did not sell well on PlayStation was Rise of the Ronin. Now, when that game first came out, it was announced that it had sold well over 1 million units. So I like to have actual facts from places like VGC and like Windows Central to be able to back up a conversation that we're going to have regarding sales, because those are two particular sites that I trust indubitably. And I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, and all I kept finding was this particular point about Yosuda's confirmation of what the company observed as a good indicator of the game selling well because it had sold above 1 million. And I went looking to see what the actual sales as of today's show was, and I couldn't find them because no one's talking about it. Sony's not talking about it. The developer's not talking about it. So then I said, you know what? stellarblade. That game looks dope. And if it was on Xbox, I would have bought it. And at the end of the year, it doesn't look like it's going to come to Xbox, at least anytime soon. So if I can get it for $30, like I did last year during Black Friday, I'll pick it up. I'll play through it because the game looks dope. I'm not going to front. But like Rise of the Ronin, I wanted to find out what the actual total sales were as of October 22 of 2024. Guess what, Jamie? I couldn't find them. What I did find, though, is the almost exact same thing. A statement from developer ShiftUp, who said this: stellarblade has reportedly sold over 1 million copies on PS5. And this is according to developer ShiftUp. This might not sound like a noteworthy achievement, according to the article, to some, but it's quite the milestone for a brand new IP and a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Now, at the time of this writing, which says June 26, 2024, didn't they have over 55 million PS5s in the wild? Right? That's so if 1 million sold to 55 million potential PS5 owners, Jamie, that's not a great number. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, it's 1 million copies, but it probably should have been 5 million copies, according to the way people reviewed the game. So I went looking and I said, you know what? I went out and bought Silent Hill 2. Now, granted, I have not played it as of yet because all I've been playing is Metaphor. And I'm kind of going to put that on hiatus on Thursday because I'm jumping right into Black Ops 6 on Friday. So I don't know when I'm going to get to Silent Hill, but I bought the game. I physically bought the game, and I'm not sorry that I did. Got great reviews, looks fantastic, watched a couple of videos, and this is probably the crowning achievement for Bloober Team. Very, very excited to see what they do with their next game that was at the Xbox show last week, because that looks dope as well. So again, this is an article that was posted 3 days ago, Jamie, and it says, and I simply asked the question, how many copies of Silent Hill 2 sold? It says Konami recently confirmed that the game has sold over 1 million copies just days after its release. That's an impressive achievement, especially for a remake. Bloober Team, the developer behind the Silent Hill 2 remake, has worked carefully to bring the game to bring back the feel of the original game. Now, these numbers are physical, digital, and worldwide. This isn't just North America. This is a worldwide stat of 1 million copies of a remake, which has become the trend for PlayStation. And even though 1 million copies, 1 million of anything is good, not when you compare that to 61 plus million consoles that consistently get put in our face about how many consoles sold for PS5. I'm just saying that if you take just these 3 games and what happened with Square specifically, I think, Jamie, what my statement is regarding exclusivity deals, the circle is going to shrink. Any additional thoughts on what I just brought to the table?
Yeah, I think, Silent Hill being locked to one platform was a big mistake. I mean, you have a worldwide known brand such as Silent Hill that's been dormant for at least 15 years. I kind of saw it coming because look, let's be honest. We see a lot of people online that boast sales numbers and say, "Oh, this game's going to sell amazing on PlayStation because of the install base." But the truth is, these games don't. Right? Some games do, but most don't. And I think, like we're saying, the days of these exclusivity titles, for 6 months a year, I think it's over. It's not beneficial to the developer at all. Outside of maybe the first marketing push, but like, as good as Silent Hill might be, nobody's talking about it at the minute. And they've locked themselves off to a single part of one fan base because, horror games can still be considered niche. So I think this game was never going to sell that well on PlayStation just because of how it's been marketed. It's unfortunate because the game looks fantastic. But I think, Konami's probably regretting doing this because it's clearly an expensive game. I just think that, we see so many people pushing back on Xbox, announcing multi-platform titles, and we all know why. Like, Microsoft's $1 trillion company; that's how much they valued, and even they looking at how much games cost now. And then you have companies like Konami, and Konami's like gaming business is tiny compared to everything else they do. But even they know like these games cost too much. In some recent interviews, they were talking about how future Metal Gear Solid 2 and 1 remakes are likely to happen, but they are going to be really expensive games. And I just think these deals are done. It doesn't benefit anyone outside of list war nerds on Twitter.